Hi Jeremy, it's Elaine. I thought I would be polite and reply in video because you obviously like video because you've made so many, so and also it would take me a long time to type, I guess. So good evening, I hope you're well. So your question is, have I ever tried religion? Well, like I said, I was brought up in an Anglican school which had a little bit of religion, but from quite an early age, I think before the age of 10, I kind of thought, I don't really believe in this. When I was about 7, I think I had a tooth fell out and I hid it under a rug and didn't tell my mum and dad where it was, and looked the next morning and lo and behold there was a tooth, and that proved to me that there wasn't any tooth fairy. And so I suppose I'm kind of a bit like that with God, really. I'm a person who I want solid scientific proof of things before I believe that they're true. I mean, when you say have I ever tried a religion, well, the thing is, what religion would I try? I mean, I don't really believe in God. I've looked, I don't find it interesting what other people believe, but I've looked on the internet, and I mean, some people's religions, I don't know if they really even qualify as religions, but there's things like Scientology that I think is ridiculous, things they believe in. Mormons, if what I look at on YouTube and read about them is true, I think what they believe in is quite ridiculous. But I wouldn't ridicule anybody for it, because if you've been brought up like that and that's what you believe, then that's fair enough. I think, from a moral point of view, I think it's quite, in a way, I think it's quite immoral to indoctrinate children with these type of faiths, or possibly with any faith really, any supernatural faith, as I would call it. I don't think a child has got the mental apparatus to be able to question things like an adult can, and I think it's your duty really to leave the child until they're an adult to decide what religion, if any, they would like to follow. Of course, the consequence of this is usually when you do that, people don't. They grow up, they don't actually believe in things because they tend to turn out like me, I suppose, and they want proof. Some of the things that I've seen on YouTube I've found truly staggering, really. And again, I suppose it goes back to the difference between the USA and the UK. For example, I have never met anybody who literally believes in Adam and Eve. Christians that I know don't actually believe that. They tend to believe the New Testament of the Bible and sort of reject most of the Old Testament. I've never met anybody that actually believes the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and I found that quite startling when I first heard somebody actually say that. I thought, how can you believe that? But again, I don't know, people brought up to believe it, so maybe they do. I don't think to be a good person you need to be a religious person. I mean, say, hypothetically, say, it was proven to you, I know it can't be, but say hypothetically tomorrow it was proven to you that there was no God, and say hypothetically there was no law, so there was no consequences to your actions at all. I mean, would you go around murdering people and stealing off people? No, of course you wouldn't, and neither would I. And that's got nothing to do with religion or lack of religion. It's just because it's the wrong thing to do and you wouldn't do it. So I don't see that being good and being religious necessarily go hand in hand. In fact, I think throughout all history there's been a lot of people who've been bad, evil if you want to call it, and not being religious. The American kind of evangelism that I've looked at, and obviously not everybody, and I'm not saying that you're like this, but it's kind of fire and brimstone. You're going to hell if you don't do this, if you do that. There's only one path in life, and if you don't follow it, you're going to be tortured for all eternity. I find that a real turn off. I think if you think about it, what people like that are saying is that a divine creator made a planet, populated it with people, gave them free will. But if that free will doesn't actually follow in the exact path that creator wants it to, then he's going to take these people who didn't ask to be born, who just by chance, if you like, are born, and then he's going to throw them into a fiery pit and torture them for all eternity. I mean, that's not very nice if you think about it. So that type of hard-hitting fundamentalist Christianity, I suppose, and I know other religions as well, I don't find that attractive at all. But even in this country, which is, like I say, is relatively secular compared to America, I still don't particularly really want that. There's nothing in it that attracts me, to be honest. I mean, in Britain, well, certainly in England, church attendance is falling every year. In fact, they're actually selling churches. You can actually purchase a church and turn it into a home if you want to, if you've got the ability and obviously the money and the time, etc., to do that. You can actually buy yourself a church and turn it into a home. Now, depending on how old it is, it will be what they call a listed building, and you'll have to retain certain features of the building, but as long as you keep within certain boundaries, you can turn it into a fully functioning home. So that is how far off religion's dipping in this country. And then when you go onto the continent, I think places like Sweden, the percentage of atheists in the population, some of these goes up to as far as 75% in some countries. So that means only 1 in 4 of the population actually even believe in a God. Excuse me. So, no, it's not that I've found science and turned away from God. It's not that. I just kind of don't buy into it. I just don't believe it. I think as a human, it's very difficult to imagine not being here, not being anywhere, being just dead, because our whole life is boundaries. You know, this room has got a certain size, this country has got a certain size, the planet's got a certain size, and we're used to boundaries. We find it very difficult to look out to space and believe it goes on infinitely. And time, you know, forever, you're dead forever. No, it's very difficult as a human, I think, to imagine that. You have to kind of make somewhere that you go to. Also, I think if you look at history, it's probably quite a good way of getting your people to fight for you if you were a king, or a leader, or Genghis Khan, or somebody like that. I mean, your average person would say, no, I'm not going to fight in your war because I might get killed. And therefore, you know, the king will tell them, yeah, but it's okay because you're going to go to this great place called heaven, and it's going to be a lot better than your life down here anyway, so it doesn't matter if you die. And I think probably the origins of religion come about from for those sort of reasons. But like I say, yeah, everybody's entitled to their view. If you get comfort out of it. Talking about that, actually, if I say get comfort, I was talking to a Muslim, and they don't believe, because I thought, well, they believe in a personal heaven. So, like a lot of people get comfort that they're going to see the loved ones again, they're going to see the family, the husband again when they die, and that gives them a lot of comfort and you know, a lot of joy. Muslims actually believe in just a personal heaven, so there's just you in it. So I think that's not very nice either. So you're all on your own for all eternity, unless you're a man, of course, and then you get all these nice little virgins provided for you, which I think kind of speaks volumes, really. So I suppose that's it, really. I hope you're well. I'd appreciate some feedback on how I come across on video, because I have been to America quite a few times on a holiday, but I don't know my accent sounds on the internet. I don't speak BBC English, I'm from Yorkshire and I've got quite a heavy accent, I do realise that. So some feedback about that would be great. And if you've got any idea what's making me picture all snowy, then that would be great as well. So I'll sign off now, and I wish you a good evening. Okay, bye.